What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Tracy Developer Meetup. So this is the October edition, and we're going to be doing a lot of Python development tonight. But before I kick it off to Cory, I want to go over a few of the logistics for this meetup group because we are remote. It's a little different than what we do in person in Tracy. So this is live. This is not an on-demand recording. We are live. So if you have questions for Cory at any time during this meetup, drop them in the chat, and I will interrupt Cory so that way we can get your questions addressed. If we have any kind of audio or video issue, let us know about that as well, because sometimes it slips past us, and we'd like to correct it as soon as possible. But other than that, I mean, Cory, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Super excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you want to give us some kind of a background on yourself, where you're from, and what you're working on, kind of thing?
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, still live in California, and I work as a developer advocate at Vonage. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my slide deck, so won't go too into it. But yeah, I've written 2 books, and I'm going to give a background on that as well. And I'm on the developer relations team at Vonage and get to share about our API. So it's a really fun job.
Yeah, and please drop plugs to those books so that we can put them in the chat too. Okay. When the time comes, I assume they're in your slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, awesome. Yeah, then whenever you're ready, just share your screen and I'll switch over, or go to the menu, the screen that you want to show.
All right, I am. Hold on.
I see it. It's on.
Good to go. Okay, cool. So welcome to this talk. We're going to build a live streaming app with Python today. And I want to say thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And what you're going to learn today? Well, we are going to use the Vonage video API to build a web app with video streaming, and it should be a lot of fun. So I wanted to just go over my background really quickly and tell you how I got interested in programming, and just tell you a little bit about myself very quickly. So in college, I tried to learn how to program, but I failed. And I then graduated from college with a major in political science, and I really struggled to get a job. I felt like I didn't have the skills that employers were looking for. And so, unable to find a job, I decided to try to learn to program. And so I bought all the books and courses, and that's the first Python book I ever bought. It's called Think Python. It's actually still a great book. Highly recommend it. And 6 months later, I got my first interview. It was at a startup, and I was super excited. But unfortunately, I completely bombed it, and it was really embarrassing because my friend got me the interview, and I just wasn't quite ready. So I went back to the drawing boards, practiced more. Eventually, I ended up working as a software engineer at eBay, which is awesome. Amazing, fantastic experience. Great team over there. Ended up writing a book called The Self-Taught Programmer because I wanted to share what I learned on my journey going from a complete beginner to a software engineer. And I wanted to create a roadmap that anybody could follow. And to my disbelief, it has now sold more than 150,000 copies worldwide. And I have a Udemy course with the same name, which has over 160,000 students. So I self-published my first book, and I just did not expect anything like that to happen. So it was really cool to be able to have an impact on people's lives. And 4 years ago, I created a Facebook group to go along with the book, and I called it the Self-Taught Programmers Facebook group. And it's really a community of just anyone learning how to code outside of school. That's how I define self-taught. Anyone learning how to code outside of the traditional just 4-year system, whether you're going through a boot camp or learning on your own. And so I made this community, and today we have over 60,000 members. So it's been really cool to see this community grow. And we've gotten a bunch of success stories. So I always just like to share this because this is what it's all about. This is why I love developer education, which is the field I'm in. I'll get back to that in a second, but it's really cool seeing the success story. So we have Victor, who had 0 experience and is now working at a major tech company using Python, and Dragon, who went from a complete beginner to a software engineer without a degree, and a bunch of really cool success stories like that. So now I am working on writing, or not writing, I'm still writing, and I just released my second book. It's called The Self-Taught Computer Scientist, and it is not coming out in October. It's actually already out. I need to update that. But it's called The Beginner's Guide to Data Structures and Algorithms. So it's sort of a follow-up to the first book, and it just helps anyone that is wanting to learn more about computer science or preparing for a technical interview, learn some computer science fundamentals. And I'm also working as a developer advocate at Vonage. So it's great. I really, really like it because I was actually writing full time for a while, and I now get to continue the work that I was doing, educating developers in a corporate environment, which is awesome. And I get to build community and educate developers about different stuff, which is really what my passion is. I love building community between developers. And so it's really awesome that I get a chance to do that at Vonage. And if you're not familiar with Vonage, we are an award-winning cloud communications provider, and we just have basically a suite of APIs that let you do things like send text messages, make phone calls, or stream video, which we will be doing today. So this is what we're going to build, just a pretty basic website that allows you to stream video, and there'll be one page that you can go to that's the admin, and they will stream to anyone that wants to join the stream, and then you'll have chat too. So you could expand upon this and create like a custom teaching solution for a classroom, or you could make a custom experience for customer service. There's like a million different use cases for if you just want to create a website with video that anyone can join, or you have to log in to join, but you could add this to your website to do a million different things. I actually just wrote an article that got published today called The Ultimate List of Hackathon Ideas. So if you go to learn.vonage.com, you can check that out. But I just brainstormed like 30 ideas for hackathons, and a bunch of them have video ideas. So you could consult that too for other ideas if you want project ideas. So bad use cases for this: it's not good for cloning Twitch. So you couldn't have like 10,000 people log on to this, and you wouldn't want to do that. So anything requiring a large amount of viewers is not really what this is meant for. And so a few things before we start: you need to have Python installed to follow along, and a couple just quick terms. If you're not a Python developer, I know a lot of people here are, but for anyone who is new, I'm going to be trying to balance presenting to an audience of new people versus more advanced coders, which is always a challenge. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best to strike a good balance between people that don't have a ton of coding experience or are more junior and super senior developers. But you need to know what a Python library is. So a Python library is Python code that you can import into your software. Pip is a Python tool for downloading libraries that we're going to use. Command line, a user interface that lets you communicate with your operating system. Going to be using that for a little bit. Web development framework, which is a piece of software for building websites, and environmental variables, which are variables that you store outside of your program for things like API keys that are sensitive. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create a Talkbox account so that you can follow along. So there is the URL. If you go to talkbox.com/account/user/signup, you can create a free account. You get, I think, $10 in free credits. And so go ahead and go there and register. And that will give you an API key and secret that you can use to follow along. So again, talkbox.com/account/user/signup. And I will give everyone like 30 seconds just to navigate to that URL. Okay, so you should see something like this. So say sign up for a video API free trial. And by the way, Talkbox, Vonage purchased it, and we are in the process of integrating it all into one brand, which is going to be Vonage. It's called the Vonage Video API, but it's still on the Talkbox website, something that we're working on right now. So enter your first name, your last name, your email, your company name, password, and then you can get your free $10 credit. Next, you are going to want to create a Talkbox project. So you should see something like this, and just hit projects and then create new project. Once you hit create new project, hit create custom project, the one on the right. Should see a screen that looks like this.
Hey, Cory,
Mhm.
I might have missed this, but the $10 credit, how
Yeah.
far does that get you with this API?
What do you mean, how far?
Like, what can one expect to accomplish with the $10 credit before they have to pay? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. Certainly enough to like do this demo,
yeah,
but you know, I would say I'm just not sure like how to answer that in terms of like traffic. But
yeah,
you know, I don't know that I have like the best answer for that, but you know, I'll have to think about that. I don't know.
sure.
That's a great question.
I'll watch, and then if I have more questions around it, I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so put in whatever project name you want. You can put my_project and then hit create. And it should say your project was created, and you should have an API key and a secret. If you hit view project, then you can also navigate to this page, which has your API key and your secret. So just make sure to leave this up so that you can use this API key and secret, because you're going to need to use that later. Okay, so let's take a look at our app. So let me just run it really quick and then we'll get started. But this is what we are going to build. Little login page. And then if you do /join, you can then log in there. And then you can chat and video conference. So that's what we're going to be building. And we can start by going to github.com/c/Althoff/Vonage unlocked. And we're just going to download this repo. So github.com/CALTHOFF/Vonage unlocked. Go to get to code and just copy this. Then we've got our terminal here. And I'm going to git clone onto my desktop right there. CD into that. Hopefully this is big enough so that you can see. And then we can just go ahead and follow these instructions to get it running. So pip3 install virtual env. If you don't have that, that allows you to create a virtual environment where we're going to install all of our dependencies. So once you've done that, again, pip3 install, try to go slow, install virtual env. And we can do virtual env then that will create a virtual environment. You can see it right there. We just created this virtual environment, and then we should be able to say source venv/bin/activate to activate our virtual environment. You can see there that it is activated. So for those of you that are not familiar with Python, we're just creating a virtual environment, which is like its own little isolated Python interpreter where you can install packages so that they don't conflict with each other. So now, if you ls, you can see we've got a document called requirements.txt, and we can pip3 install -r requirements.txt. That should install all the dependencies for this project. You do pip freeze. You should then see that we've installed the dependencies. We've already created our free Opentalk account and gotten the API key and secret. And then we are just going to create a .env file really quick. So we can type vim.env, hit I so that we can type into vim, and then Opentalk API equals, and then put your Opentalk API key, Opentalk secret, and then put your Opentalk API secret that we got earlier when we went through the Opentalk process and created a new project. So just go ahead and copy and paste that into the .env file. I'll give everyone a minute to get that done. And if anyone fell behind, if you just go to the GitHub repo, it has all the instructions on there. So I'm not actually going to put in my Opentalk API key or secret because I'm going to use PyCharm when I'm doing the demo, but because it has not live, but it has autofill, which makes it just a lot easier. But if you want to use Python, then just idle, then you are welcome to. And so, okay, once you have the API key and secret in your .env file, press escape, :x, enter to exit Vim and save. And then if you do cat.env, you should have your Opentalk API and Opentalk secret in there. And now if you just do Python app.py, then when you navigate to your local host /admin, you should be able to type your name and then do the same thing when you go to /join, like I showed you earlier. Okay, how is everyone doing on this?
So far, I haven't had anyone stop us in the chat saying that they're lost, so I think we're doing good so far. But I just wanted to reiterate to the chat that this is a live event. If you do get stuck, drop us a chat. We're not going to laugh at you or anything. We want to help.
Cool. Okay, so if you jump into Vonage Unlocked, you can basically see everything you've got. I'm going to show it from the PyCharm perspective. So we've got Vonage unlocked right here. That's our folder. We've got app.py, which has a lot of our Python code. And then we've got static, which is a folder with some JavaScript and CSS templates with some HTML and just our README. And that's it. Super simple. And I'm going to go ahead and just rebuild the app.py part so we can learn how it works. So I'm not going to assume that everyone is familiar with Flask, which is a web development framework that I really like. So I'm just going to show really quickly how I'm going to start by showing just how Flask works. So first we just start by importing it, and then we can say app gets Flask and I'm going to do this for later, but the important thing is that we are creating a Flask app here. And then what we can do is define a function. We can call it index. And then we can return hello world. And then Flask lets us create a decorator that maps this function to a URL. So when we go to that URL, whatever HTML is returned from the function gets displayed on that URL. So we can say app.route, and then we just put the URL right here that we want to map to the HTML that this function returns. And so now when you go to the home page, you should see this as HTML. And then we can just say app.run. And we're going to set app.debug to true so that it helps us out when we have an error. But you wouldn't want to do that in production, but when you're debugging, that's fine. And then Flask comes with a cool test server that we can use. And so when we run this, hopefully when we go to our local server, it says hello world. So if we want to map more URLs to HTML, we can just create new functions. So in this case, we're going to make a function called join, and we're going to make a a function called admin. And then for that URL, we're going to set this URL to /join, and we're just going to return join, and then here admin and return admin. So this is the last thing I'm going to show for Flask for anyone who's like a senior developer or anything like this. If this is boring to you, I apologize, but I just want to make sure everyone can follow along. And so if we go to /join, we get join. If we go to /admin, we get admin. Okay, cool. So now we are going to import the environmental variables from .env, and we're going to have to use those later. So I'm just going to do that really quick. So we're going to say from decouple import config, and then I'm going to say Talkbox API get config Talkbox API, and then Talkbox secret, and that's going to get Talkbox secret. Okay, so now we're just grabbing our API key and secret from our environment from the .env file. Okay, so now we need to import Talkbox or Opentalk. So I don't know why. Man, I always I always do that. So Opentalk. Sorry about that. I don't know if I've been saying Talkbox the whole time, but I'm really bad about doing that. So my apologies. Okay, so from Opentalk, import client. And so the way that the Opentalk API works is essentially you create a session, right? So we're going to create a session, and then you can either be a publisher that publishes video to that session, and you can also be a subscriber that subscribes and consumes video from that session. And every session has a unique ID. And to get access to participate in a session, everyone needs a unique token. So those are sort of the key elements, right? You create a session, people can publish to it, they can subscribe to it, and every session has an ID, and every person that either subscribes or publishes needs their own unique token. So we are going to first create a client. So client gets client, and then we need to pass in our Opentalk API and our Opentalk secret. Just want to make sure this is working. Okay, don't seem to have any errors so far. Cool. All right, so now we need to create a session. So we're going to say session ID gets client dot create session, and then we're gonna get that session ID. So let me see if that works. Hopefully, I'm gonna print that. Okay, cool. So we got our session ID there. So you can see Python printed out a unique session ID. That is the ID for our session. So cool, we've got that. And now we're gonna jump into index, and we're gonna say method. This needs to be able to, this route needs to be able to accept posts and get requests. So we just say methods and we add get and post so that we can accept both a post and get request. If you jump into templates and you go to admin.html, you can see we just basically send a post request to the home page, and we're going to grab whether or not the person is admin from this form, which of course I do not recommend actually doing, but this is just sort of a demo app. So we need to also import request, and then we're also going to import render template. And so we're going to say if request is not post, then we're going to say please log in. So basically you go to, if first the person someone has to go to /admin, and they need to create an account, and they're the ones who are going to be actually streaming. So anyways, if the request isn't post, we're going to say please log in. So next we're going to say if request.form admin in, we're going to create a variable admin, and we're going to say false, and we're just going to say if admin in request.form, then admin is true. And then we're going to grab the person's name, because see, we asked for their name in this form. And so we're going to say name gets request.form and then name. And then instead of returning hello world, we're going to use Flask render template, which just allows us to pass in an HTML template from our templates folder. And in this case, it's going to be index.html right here. So we're just going to say return render template, and we want to pass in index.html, and then we can pass variables into render template. So if you go to index.html, you can see it needs these variables: API key, session ID, token, name, and is admin. So we are going to pass all of that in. So we can start with API key. And then we're just going to give it the Opentalk API key that we got from our .env file. We're going to pass in our session ID. We're going to pass in name. We're going to pass in is admin. So we just got name and admin from the form that they filled out. And then finally, we need to pass in our token, which we need to generate. So inside index, we're going to say token gets client. So we're going to use the Opentalk API to generate a token, and that's going to take a session ID. So that's how you generate a token. Each person, again, has to have their own token. So every time someone goes to the home page, a new token is going to get generated, and then we're going to pass that in. Then when someone goes to join, we're going to return render template join.html. And here we're going to return render template admin.html. And then hopefully that's it. It should work. I'll show you the JavaScript in a second. We won't go super deep into that, but this should be all you need. Now, if you go to /admin, there we go. It should work. You should really go to /join.
If you were to use something like ngrok or something to make your local server, I guess, public, would somebody from the meetup be able to join and try this out? Have you tried it?
Yeah, we could try that.
Yeah, just something to see how it works beyond your local machine.
Or maybe why don't you could demo that?
Well, I don't have Python and everything set up, so you would have to expose your local server publicly. But if you're not set up to handle that, then no worries, don't worry.
I don't have it set up right now. That's actually great. I'm gonna add that to another demo because that's really smart.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to really get the message across.
Yeah, that's I love that. Cool. I think I did, I did something wrong. I'm trying to just debug really quick. Oh. Actually, I want all this inside here, and then otherwise, I'm gonna return. Please log in. There we go. That should work now. What did I do? This is a great demo. Oh no.
If you were to look at your browser console logs, would it show any kind of problems maybe communicating to your backend?
Let's see.
If you refresh. No, nothing. All right, I tried.
But I feel like it's running the. It's not running the. The change that I just made. Hold on one sec. Let me just look at it. Okay, I'm just gonna comment this out really quick. This is the perils of doing this live. Okay. Keyword error name.
We're getting some feedback in the chat. Do you have a post on admin? I guess a post request on your root path, or is it just? It looks like you do.
Oh, did I?
No, on admin actually.
Oh, well, I don't think I need that because it's just a get request to admin. But okay, hold on. just give me 10 seconds to read this.
Sure.
Oh, it's okay. I think.
Are you gonna have a tab error on line 20? It didn't seem like it tabbed in. Did you space or tab? Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm not really proficient at Python.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll have this. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
It's all good. It happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Roman from the chat is saying he thought that you needed a post when you go to the admin path.
There we go. Thanks. Boom.
Sweet. You want to elaborate on what you just did?
Yeah. I think I just so basically, if I added if request dot method equals post. I think before I just had if request equals post, and so basically like it needs to, this code needs to only run if there's a post request, and I just did if request equals post. So this code was just never running. So it just basically wasn't being able to tell if that a post request was coming in because I needed to put request dot method is post. So just that was there. So basically, the way it's like, it's not like a super great way of doing this. Like it's just because it's a demo, but what I'm doing is from admin.html and join.html, I'm sending a post request. And so that is basically telling me like, okay, they just came from admin.html, or they just came from join.html because it's a post request, just for the sake of this demo app. And so basically I only want this code to run if you're coming from admin.html or if you're coming from join.html, because that means that you've passed in a name from the form and whether or not you're admin. So then if you're not coming from there and if you just access it like the homepage, and I'm just saying, please log in because you didn't you didn't provide the information of whether you're an admin or your name. So if that I don't know if that makes sense, but were there any other questions?
None yet. Keep going. This is good. Good stuff.
Cool. Okay. God. Okay. So that's pretty much the Python end of it. The key thing to know is just that you can really, really easily use the video API to just get this this cool video conferencing running. So you can do a lot of cool stuff too with building this little graphic that says your name, and you can put your logo and stuff like that. And so it's pretty cool to be able to just, have all this functionality with only a few lines of Python code. So that's the Python part. And as far as the HTML part and the JavaScript part, so we've got this index.html. And so it takes those variables that we passed in, API key, session ID, token name is admin. And then essentially, if you're admin, then it runs this script admin video.js. If you're not, then it runs a script called viewer video.js. And then right here, we're just bringing in the chat.js, and JavaScript is not my strong suit. So I'm sure I did stuff that's not ideal, but bear with me. So you all can tell me what I'm doing wrong. But if we go to viewer video JS, so essentially what we're doing is we're creating a session ID creating a constant session ID by just grabbing that session ID by its ID. And then we have another constant API key, which we grabbed from, so we're just grabbing this from index.html. So we've got our session ID, our API key, and our token. And then with this line of code, we create a session object. We've already created a session with our Python code, but in index.html, I'm going to go back to that really quick. We bring in the Opentalk JavaScript library. And so right here, we call OT Opentalk.init session. We pass in this API key. We pass in this session ID. And then with this line of code, we can call session.on. When the stream is created, then we subscribe because this is viewer video.js. So this is the code for /join. So we subscribe to that stream, and then we can just call session.connect, pass in our token. Remember, everyone has to have a unique token. And then that is it. That's all it takes to subscribe to a stream. So this is basically the code to subscribe and consume video from an Opentalk session. And then we've got, oh, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. We've got admin video. And so this is just some code that I wrote to, this function adds the text. So this is what I was talking about with right there, adding the text. So that handles that. You can take a look at that if you want. And then this is the Opentalk code right here. So we do the same thing, ot.init session, pass in the API key, pass in the session ID. And then here we're creating a publisher. So on this end, we actually want to publish video to the stream, to the session. And so we just call ot.init publisher. And we got some parameters here. And
we have a few questions coming in. Sorry to interrupt. First of all, I'll go with my question first. The text that you're adding, is that not part of the video itself? That's kind of an overlay built with JavaScript?
Yes, that's an overlay built with JavaScript, yeah.
All right. Is there a way to get it like baked into the video itself? Or no, not currently?
No, not currently. But we have a tutorial on how to add text or a logo or anything using JavaScript. But yeah, it's using a JavaScript overlay.
Got it. And the next question is coming from Roman. He's asking, does the video stream support audio?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Got it. Is there a way to select or configure it so that way it like if you've got multiple sound devices or cameras and things like that to choose the settings?
Yeah. Yeah. If we dive into the, let's see what page would that be on? I think right here. So whoever's a better expert than me on JavaScript can help out. But I believe so. This line of code is calls .get user media, and so I believe that is where it grabs your audio and video, and I believe that you can make changes here, but someone else could jump in and help with that because I'm still learning how all this works on the JavaScript end. But
yeah, that's typical HTML5 stuff right there.
Okay.
For media, it's the same. I think it's the same stuff for like selecting your screen and things like that. Typical for a lot of web applications.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Any other questions?
Not currently. Well, actually, Roman's coming back here. So, can this be used for security cams? as a use case.
Security cams. What do you mean? That's
it's a little vague right now. Roman, if you can add to this, and I'll maybe add my interpretation while he does that. But maybe you want to use the Vonage API to actually string up some IP cameras or something to monitor. I don't know. Roman, maybe you can add to it.
Yeah, I think you could. Yeah.
Would it be cost effective in that sense to do that?
That is an interesting question.
That was my question. That
right. Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that.
No worries.
I'm gonna write like a note to
yeah, for sure,
because that seems to be coming up a lot, and that's a really good question.
Yeah, cool. Because you said it wasn't it wasn't the proper tool for, say, building a Twitch platform. Right. So it's not for everything, but it's definitely got its solid use cases.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm definitely gonna, and maybe I don't know if you're gonna follow up with people after and send an email or something.
Yeah, I actually do send out a recap email usually a few days after. So I'll give you some time to come up with any kind of notes for me to add to it.
That'd be awesome. Cool. So yeah, basically you create your publisher, and then it's the exact same thing. Sort of, you just call session.connect, got your token, and then do session.publisher, and then again, we're just subscribing, because we also, when we're on the admin page, we want to also consume video as well as subscribe it. So cool. I'm gonna jump out of sharing my screen so I can say hi to everyone. And let's see.
You want me to stop sharing your screen for a second? Oh, yeah, you already did.
Cool. I'm gonna jump back. Cool. So thank you all so much for joining me for that demo. And yeah, how's everyone doing?
They've been a quiet bunch tonight, but that's not a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Cool. Do you have any things that are left on the agenda, or I know we got done a little bit earlier than anticipated, but
that's all right. Yeah, I mean, I will go over some logistics again and see how these questions come in, and then we can see where it takes us. How about that?
Sounds great.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully I'm sharing the right one. Yeah, so actually, you should be seeing the Tracy Developer Meetup website. And I do this every meetup just for people who are new. But if you haven't been here, this is the source of all information for this meetup group. I know that we're listed on meetup.com as well as Eventbrite. But if you ever want to know what's coming up next for the group, tracydevs.com. I list the events there. I try to schedule them a few months out so that way you can see a few of them. But in the meantime, subscribe to the mailing list. So I'm not going to spam you. I send out 2 emails a month. The first email is a reminder that the event is happening, and the second email is a recap email with any information that we might need to add. So that's all that you're going to get. I encourage you to do that so that way you don't miss out on future meetup events. Other than that, I mean, this is good so far. We don't have any events lined up for November or December yet. December, we may not have one because it's kind of everyone's gone for the holidays kind of thing. But November, if anyone's interested in speaking at this group, you don't need to be in developer relations. This could be your first presentation ever. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to have you come speak. Let me go ahead and give it back to you. And I think we have a question coming in now. So this is from Roman again. So sorry I missed the beginning. What's the main use case for this video streaming API?
Great question. Thanks, Roman, and thanks for following along and all your great questions throughout this. I really appreciate it. So yeah, a use case it would be essentially, there's a million different ones, but some of the ones I highlighted at the beginning were like if you wanted to make a custom customer support portal, and you wanted to be able to interact with customers, and I don't know, whatever unique way you wanted, or you could. So I wrote an article. You can check it out. It's on learn.vonage.com, and it's the ultimate list of hackathon ideas. But one idea I had on there that I thought was cool is if you turn this into like a custom app for teachers where you could enter some data on the website from like the teacher's admin and then have it create a graph. So I thought that'd be really cool. Like if you had like 20 students that you were teaching, and then you could really quick create like a pie graph and to illustrate your point. I thought that'd be cool. Or any million things like that. Like what would be helpful for teachers, or creative ideas like that for customer support, or anything like that. So those are the use cases. Those are my pitches for using it. But any situation where you have like 30 or 40 people that you want to present to using video and audio.
So yeah, you saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. That is a very good question. I believe you can. So I'm still familiarizing myself with this API, but I believe that you can do that. Yeah.
I think you can, based on what you showed with the JavaScript with the media selector.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that you could probably select your screen as the source rather than your camera. Whether or not you can do both at the same time, you would probably know more than me on that. Can you share more than one video source at the same time? Do you know?
I am not sure. These are really good questions, and thank you for being my guinea pigs on this, because I started with like our SMS API and stuff like that, and so I'm still learning, and so I haven't done a whole lot of these presentations on the video API. So it's really great to get these questions and see like what are people asking, because I don't have a ton of experience getting these kind of questions. And so I'm actually taking notes right now. So I'm adding them to the list, and I'm going to follow up with Nick and get back to you on that. So yeah, keep them coming if you have any other questions, because it's super helpful. I need to like make my own DevRel FAQ for this API so that I just have it ready to go. But definitely appreciate the questions. They're super thoughtful questions.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Roman, for being a part of this today.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I haven't seen anything slip in. So I think this might be a good time to break away and enjoy the weekend. What do you think?
That sounds great. Yeah, I'm going to go to bed. I am tired. I've had a long week.
I hear you. All right, everyone. I hope everyone has a great rest of your night or afternoon, depends on where you're tuning in from the world. Cory, thanks for taking the time tonight to show us how to use this API. Look forward to that email coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely get back to you with all of that. And thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. So everyone, enjoy your weekend. Thanks so much. And thanks for all the great questions. I really appreciated them.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone.